Hello, and welcome to another great episode of Dojo Live this Thursday, August 31st, 2023. My name is Kim Lantis, and joining me, as per the usual, is co-host America Guerrero.
Hey Kim, hey Deepak, nice to meet you.
Yes, hi, and that's right. Our guest today, Deepak Jain, who is the CEO and founder of Wink. And as America said, thank you for joining us, Deepak.
Oh, very nice to meet you both, and thanks for having me.
Yes, it's our pleasure. Today we're going to be talking all about e-commerce, and not just e-commerce, biometrics and e-commerce. I'm really excited about this. I think I said in my video, it reminds me of super future stuff, right? Like movies like Minority Report and other things. And so it's here. Like, I cannot believe this is actually possible and no longer just a fiction. So we're ready to dive into it. But before we do, we'd like to know the Deepak story. Deepak, what's your passion, and what's kind of led up to founding Wink?
Yeah, my passion is really bringing to market innovative technologies, and especially things that you can't easily pinpoint as having been done before. So really like to bring things that are innovative first to market, and I've done that across a few different startups. My first journey way back in 2007 in the entrepreneurial world was with the idea that your smartphone is going to start replacing a lot of things like your credit cards and your boarding passes.
And you were completely right.
So we built a technology to allow the smartphones to do that securely and nicely. So that was the first attempt, and where we got a lot of great experience working with some of the main financial institutions, the networks like Visa and MasterCard, some of the largest banks. So got a lot of learning and relationships through that venture. And then in my next venture, I experimented with the idea of blockchain and see what might be a great use case of blockchain outside of trading cryptocurrencies. So we built a platform that would allow consumers to trade unused gift cards, and that's a problem. It's a small problem, but in the large scheme of things, it's a big problem. It's a
everybody can relate to that.
Everybody can
relate.
relate.
And it's not because you're ungrateful. You're just like, thanks, but I don't shop at this place.
Yes, absolutely. So we built a platform. And got to learn a lot of issues that are faced by retailers and brands. They want to offer a great experience to consumers. And as online traffic has grown, as e-commerce has grown, so has the exposure to potential fraud. So has been the exposure to bad people that try to take advantage of the fact that internet has made things easy to access. So we got a lot of great learning on what retailers are looking for, what brands are looking for, what kind of problems exist in the area of e-commerce and fraud. And that essentially led to the realization that the biometric technology, if used properly and if used safely, can really help address a lot of burning topics in e-commerce, as well as in some of the upcoming ways in which consumers interact with brands, with retailers. So that's essentially how Wink came about.
All right, I love it. Okay, so let's dive into the topic and how this associates with Wink. We're hoping to answer the question of
how can biometric authentication redefine online transactions and user experiences for retailers? So please share with us the answer.
Absolutely. So one big drawback today of online transactions is that the retailers do not actually know who is shopping on their website. They may know through a username or password some idea about who might be shopping, but that by itself creates a issue where someone else could be pretending to be you, because consumers are not very scrupulous with their passwords. They share the same password across multiple different merchants and websites. So if it gets stolen in one place, it gets compromised everywhere. So there is really no system today that allows a merchant to really safely transact with a human being. There is not even today, with the advancement of AI and bots out there, there isn't a technology available that could safely tell a merchant that they are transacting with a live human being and not with a computer or a bot or an AI pretending to be a consumer. And this is really a source of fraud. This is a problem that needs addressing. And this is where Wink comes in. We have built the technology that uses the camera, the selfie camera that's omnipresent on all devices, whether it's a phone or a tablet or a computer, to actually give that level of assurance to the merchant that that online transaction that they are having with a consumer is with a live human, and it's not with someone who is pretending to be somebody else. And that really addresses a lot of fraud that has the potential of really taking the fraud down to zero
Wow.
in the world of online commerce.
So how does this work in terms of, we're also talking about user experience. So we want it to be a seamless one. We want it to be a really good experience. Is Wink something that's hanging out there in the background, or is it something that I have to register for and be a Wink user? How does it work for me in terms of the consumer?
Yeah, you as a consumer, the first and the foremost is your privacy. And we are very, very mindful of the fact that you do not want, as a consumer, to be watched or tracked. So Wink does not hang out in the background or anything. Wink is a voluntary action that you as a consumer need to take to essentially log in to a merchant using your face and, if needed, your voice as a alternative to username and password, which are unsafe. So you consent as a consumer to opt in and use your face and voice, something that you can never forget, and something that no one else can use to enter into your account. So you voluntarily set that up, and once you have set that up, you can connect those with payment methods that you have been issued to you by banks or by companies like PayPal or Venmo or others. And once you have connected your biometrics, your face and voice, with those payment instruments, all you need to do is accept to turn that selfie camera on for a momentary few seconds to let Wink authenticate you securely and pull up your information and securely provide that to the merchant, whether it's your email address, your phone number, your shipping address, your payment information, so that the merchant can make that safe transaction with you. It's like shopping in store, where you show up in person, you smile at the merchant, and you hand them your card, right? You're just doing that virtually, just like we're having this virtual conversation over a camera right now. We have brought that same experience online. You turn on the camera, you smile at the merchant gets your information, and the merchant knows that they're dealing with a human being.
And how are you? Oh, go ahead, Kim.
I was just gonna say, so in terms of I still have to have my initial login, my account set up and everything with each merchant. And so there are passwords at play, but it's a convenience factor also, like this layer of, I am also activating Wink, this is me. And now in the future, all I have to do is smile.
Yeah, so with our system, passwords are never at play.
Okay.
So the merchant can choose to replace the password, their password system with Wink, which means your face, your voice, and the information about your device, whether it's your phone or your computer, these things work together to replace username and password. So they go away. Even a PIN or an OTP that some of the merchants send, one-time code over SMS to do a second layer of authentication, that goes away also.
Wow.
Because Wink implicitly takes multiple factors in its consideration. Your device data, your facial data, and if needed, your voice data. We take those factors into account, and we never need to have to resort to a password.
I love the voice data. Anybody else get the Edna mode from The Incredibles? That's totally what's coming to my mind.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking, how are you facing these AI filters that I have seen in TikTok, Reels, people that, for example,
Like
sells
deep
people.
faking?
Yeah. How do you face that?
Fortunately, there is technology that is available that allows us to differentiate between a live person in front of the camera and a flat image of that person being presented through another screen, right? Even if this is my photo, my family's photo, if I were to present this, even though it's my face, we can detect that this is coming through a flat screen versus me live in 3D. So with that technology that we have built, we can reject someone presenting a AI generated image of me, or even an AI generated voice of me, and replay that to the computer and try to get access to my account. We can reject those through a process called liveness detection, which really truly only allows a human being's face and a human being's voice to be authenticated.
How does this work in terms of like you mentioned device authentication? Is that the word? Authentication. But what happens if I'm using a device that's not mine? Like if I happen to be staying the weekend at my brother's house, or I don't know, using my husband's cell phone and his Amazon account because he's the one who's got the Prime discount and I don't. But it's okay that I'm using it because not maybe legally, I am authorized, right, by my husband. What does this look like? Is that where the voice comes into play, where it's like, okay, this isn't your device, but is your face. Now talk to me.
That's right. So the first thing we do is we look at the device, and if it's your device, we will check your face, and if those two things match, you're in. If we look at your device and it's a new device, we look at it at you as a new user, and then we'll look at your face and we'll say, well, this face belongs to Kim, but we need a second factor. So then we'll prompt you for voice, and that's how a new device will get added to your account. And so we automatically learn the third factor if the two factors match. So if the device and face match, we'll learn your voice. If the face and voice match, we'll learn a new device. So that's how the AI...
that kind of leads to my other question: if the voice and the device match, but the face doesn't, because I mean, a lot of women. I mean, there's men too, but like mostly women, right? Some of us wear heavy makeup, and there's who you maybe have a day where you're like, I'm not wearing makeup today, and when you show up, a lot of people are like, are you okay? Are you sick? You're like, no, I'm just not wearing makeup.
Or even accidents.
Or if we take off our glasses,
Yeah.
or if I'm bruised, or I don't know, get a haircut, like all of these things.
Yeah.
Men shaving off their beards or adding a beard. Like how does that work?
Yeah, it works because we take the face and we break into about 30 independent vectors. And these vectors are, the shape of your eyes, the shape of your eyebrows, the ears, the lips, the cheek bridge. Skin tone has got very little to do with it. Facial hair, yes, is could interfere with certain aspects of the face. Mask can interfere. Certain type of sunglasses can interfere with the vectors. So what we do is we assign a confidence level between 0 to 100, right? And of how many vectors are matching when you show up. And depending on where that confidence level is, also combining that with what device you're on, lets us decide if we need your voice or not. And if we do decide that yes, your face is looking like it's you, but the confidence is below a certain threshold, which means that you may be, having some alteration to your face, could be cosmetic, could be a hat or scarf or whatever, we'll then decide to prompt for voice. And that helps us, again, increase that confidence level to a very high level, allowing you to come in. So most situations are able to be handled without resorting to a PIN code or a password.
Okay. And then that's the backup. I mean, let's say I'm feeling really sick, I'm puffy, I look terrible. My voice is also raspy or just not really my own. And I can't get in. So that's the ultimate then is like, okay, let's just go back to the old school password, or how does that work?
That's up to our customers to handle. If they would like to enable a backup, they're always free to enable a backup, right? Google sign in or whatever they would like as a backup. That's really up to our customers to decide.
Nice.
Certain use cases, they would want a backup, as you rightly said. And it's really their choice as to what kind of backup to Wink login or Wink authentication they want to enable on their website.
And how fast? Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say, how fast is this? But we can address that after America's question.
Oh, thank you, Kim. How new and your smartphone needs to be to have this technology available on your phone? I mean, I'm imagining my grandma who has a cell phone who is not that new as this one, and she needs to log in into something. I mean, what are the standards of cell phones?
Oh, we only need a 720p camera, which is 15 years old, and an internet connection. So that's about it. We have proven the technology on all sorts of devices, old desktop computers, old laptops, old smartphones, and even beyond phones and computers. We've tested this on a grayscale camera mounted on the rear view mirror of a car. So you enter the car and you can be recognized. The driver, this is called driver recognition. This is where commerce is moving beyond your phone, right? And we believe, going back to my earlier statement, that we like to do things that no one has done before. We anticipate that in the future, the reliance on the mobile phone and the mobile app is going to go down. As you get into a car that's connected, it already has a 5G connection, it's a semi-autonomous vehicle, you have a camera that's monitoring you, making sure that you're not drowsy or sleepy. In those environments, now commerce can take place. You can speak, there is Siri or Google Assistant. You can tell the car, go take me to the nearest parking spot, and the car can automatically pay for it because Wink's technology is in there. Or you could be in your home where you're automatically quote unquote logged in because you entered through your front door and there was a doorbell camera in there. You were already authenticated. You're in your home. All you need to say to Alexa is, buy me this, and you can automatically be charged, right? So there are environments in the future where you will not have the reliance on the phone or a mobile app. And that's where Wink technology comes in by utilizing wherever there's a camera, you can actually do commerce.
That's a really wild and extremely fast transition from your 2007 prediction of everything is going to become, a cell phone is going to be necessary, to now, not even 20 years later, to the cell phones are going to be becoming less and less necessary.
That's right. If you look at yourself, your personality is very, very diverse, unique, and sufficient for you to authenticate yourself wherever you go. You do not need a username, a password, a card, a keychain, a mobile phone to help in that. It wasn't the case maybe many years ago, But today, with the available technology, you as an individual, you have everything that you need to authenticate yourself and pay someone. All that other party needs is a camera. If you're not in front of them.
It is wild. And I can definitely see where we're leaning into, of course, this idea of revolution, redefinition. My question is, with the technology that Wink has and the biometrics, I see a lot of different use cases or potential ones, right? I mean, even when it comes, the first one that's coming to my mind is travel, in terms of like checking in to a hotel or to, the airport or other places. Daycares or whatever, like people who are authorized to pick up or drop off children, hospitals, even like, is this me, can I receive this treatment or not, give me my medication, pharmacies, whatever. So why e-commerce? Why was this the vertical that you chose to focus on first? And I guess the next question is, will it be the only vertical for Wink, or are you hoping to expand elsewhere?
Oh, all of those points that you mentioned are conversations we have had. In fact, as recently as yesterday, I was talking to a pretty large hospital chain in California, talking about how they have to tag people with a little bracelet to let them know what kind of medication and what kind of surgery that they need. And that's a manual, error-prone process that takes time, and mistakes can happen, and that can be replaced by facial recognition quite easily.
That's true. Or mothers and babies having their matching wristbands.
Yeah,
We've all heard the horror
that.
stories of being mixed up at birth.
Exactly. So yeah, those are all conversations that we're having. However, as you know, with startups, you've got investors, and with investors, you follow the money, right? As you follow the money, you look at where the quantum of fraud today is a huge problem, right? And the quantum of fraud, when you look at e-commerce, the amount of identity fraud, the amount of account takeover fraud, the amount of now threat that the AI revolution is causing to potential merchants for hackers taking advantage of AI to impersonate people, and so this quantum of opportunity in e-commerce is here and now. It is it's a problem to solve. So as we look at building our company, we pick the area where the quantum is really big, but that doesn't mean we are not looking at some of these other opportunities in the healthcare, transportation, retail, and many other segments where the technology can be deployed.
And I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Perfect sense. It's extremely, extremely smart business tactic, and it just makes absolute sense. In terms of Wink and the ability to break down fraud, do you have any numbers for us? I mean, what does, in some of the use cases with retailers who have utilized your technology, have fraud come down? What percentage? Or even for that matter, the flip side, have sales increased? I mean, is it just about fraud protection, or is it also leaning into that user experience and how this is really cool? I like shopping here. I prefer to shop here because I get to have this experience.
We have data and we have assumptions. It's a little early in our life cycle to make conclusive stats available yet, right? I mean, this is coming very soon in terms of what kind of fraud reduction, what kind of account takeover protection, what kind of identity assurance, all those improvement in those key metrics. And this is something we are going to be releasing soon. But for the moment, the data is there, but it's the size of data is not large enough for us to make conclusive public statements.
Fair enough. Spoken like a true scientist and a politician. No, I'm kidding. Just kidding. But it's interesting when you do release it. We can of course help out and include that here on your landing page at Dojo Live as well for any of our listeners and viewers who'd like to track that in the future. As we come to these final few minutes of the show, we've got about 5 or so minutes left before we have to say goodbye today. I wanted to lean back into your entrepreneurial decision, the very smart business decision of why you leaned into e-commerce. What other advice might you have for people in the startup space who are hoping to create something like Wink? What has that experience been like for you? What maybe are some, really do this, it's worked out well for me, or avoid doing this, it was one of the worst mistakes I ever made? What might you speak to that?
Well, it all starts with people, right? That's my advice is pick the right people first, right? Your idea may not be proven yet. You may not have full confidence whether or not your idea might work in the market, whether you will be able to raise money or not. But if you pick the right team and if you pick the right folks that will stick with you, that will be available to work with you and pivot and brainstorm and actually produce something that's useful and interesting, you might have a few changes in direction, which happens with every startup. But I think it all comes back to people, and that's my advice, and that's what I did in my third venture here. Is pick my team from my past ventures and really really do this together. This is where you want to surround yourself with other like-minded people, and the same goes with investors and board members and advisors. Pick the right people. That is the number one recipe that I would.
What's your people picking process? Say that 10 times fast.
People that you can trust, that they can trust you, people who are adaptive, they can understand, they listen well, that they can understand what you're saying, and they have the capability to challenge you and be able to really point out opportunities, risks, rewards. You want a very productive two-way relationship, and that's what you pick. You pick people who are not strict or rigid, but people who are flexible, adaptive, love learning, love doing new things, and that's how it matches with your own culture. That's how we pick our team members.
Thank you. America, you look like you had something to ask.
I was remembering this guest who said that don't worry about hiring smart people, as people who is smarter than you, and it resonated for me, this conversation. And something that I think that might be important to know is that when you hire the correct people, you can also sense this validation feeling when you're starting a startup. I think you don't know where you're going, but you have the people who are going to be right there to support you, and that's really important.
And that's absolutely right, and that goes for investors and other mentors and advisors that you surround yourself with. Right, the more perspectives that you as founder and CEO can surround yourself with, of people that you trust, whether it's people that work in your team or people who have chosen to believe you through their funding or through their advice. I think it applies to everyone around you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Deepak, for your words of wisdom, your people picking process, and of course, for sharing all about Wink and biometrics with us. It certainly is perhaps another phase, right, of what's coming. And it's just wild to me that all of this has happened in just a span of less than 20 years. And who knows what's going to be happening in the next 20. Deepak knows. He has some really good feels of of trajectories, right? I love it. We wish you and, of course, Wink nothing but success. Thank you so much for joining us here on Dojo Live.
Thank you, Kim and America. Enjoyed it. And thanks again for having me.
Thank you. Stick around for just a minute as we go off air. But before we do, we'd like to remind our viewers that we've got a recap show coming up on Monday morning. So join us at 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific right here in Dojo Live as we talk all about you, Deepak, what we learned and what we enjoyed about today's show. Until then, stay safe, everyone. Bye.